We didn't have a library that was really close by, so my school library, especially as a young child, was really important to me. And my earliest memory would probably be the person who checked out where the wild things are over and over and over again until the librarian told me I wasn't allowed to do it because some other kids had to read the book. I would say that the library certainly fostered my love of reading, yeah, absolutely. I mean, without a library, all we had were the books at home, which were great, but I liked weirder books, so my library had those, which was good.
The weird book section, yes, I remember it well.
The weird book section.
Or the weirder books, right?
Yeah.
Do you go with your family to the library?
I do. I'm a trustee at my local library, my community library, so I'm very involved. I have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old, and my husband regularly fixes things there too. So yes, we're very involved in the local library. When things get really loud at my house and I'm trying to work, I pack up all of my things and I go to my local library where it's, you know, not completely quiet like the old days, but there's no toddlers screaming for me personally, so that's good. But for research purposes, a lot of my work is set in fictional areas of where I live now, so it's great to be able to research those things. My last book said there was the pagoda, and I got to learn the history of the pagoda, things like that, and those were local books, so I wouldn't have been able to find them anywhere else. I'm the secretary of my library board. One of our trustees came back and reported from a systems meeting, okay, the county meeting, and at that systems meeting there was a task force that had recommended that we as trustees start making a plan for the next 5 to 10 years to become completely self-sufficient. Backstory: I also run my community swimming pool, which is completely nonprofit and volunteer run. And it's incredibly difficult to get volunteers, to get funding, to get people to even help with fundraisers. So with that experience, I couldn't understand why this task force believes that we're going to be volunteer run, volunteer funded, and that people in the community are just going to come out and raise the full budget to run a community library. That to me just seems like fairy dust. I don't understand why anybody's thinking that that's possible. What I think it comes from is that people don't understand they take for granted what libraries did for them, and same with education. Because if it weren't for librarians and teachers, politicians wouldn't be politicians. I know this because I was a literacy teacher, and I say spend 2 weeks with any of my literacy students and you will find out what it's like to not have libraries and education. But we take it for granted, and I'm really quite not happy about the budget cuts and cuts all around. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think that certain books, certain books for art aren't for certain people. And I do think that if I'm a parent, so what I tend to do is if I'm concerned with any sort of content, or that there might be content in a book for my child, I read the book first. It takes a little time, but it's worth it. So far I've never found anything that she wanted that was inappropriate, because she wanted to read about it. She's been reading about the Civil War lately, and she wants to see the pictures of the, the bodies at the Battle of Gettysburg. It's kind of gross, but she wants to know, and if she asks, then it's time for her to find out. But I actually just met up with one of the coolest school principals ever, and he said something really important, and it fits with that, which is, he looked at the audience and he said, some of these authors are controversial. Some of their books are controversial. Some of the subject matters are a little bit edgy. But he explained then to the audience, he said, over half of our students don't have fathers. Some of our students have parents in jail. Some of our students do drugs. Some of our students have alcohol problems. Some of our students cut and are depressed and have these things happening. And if you or your child are one of the lucky ones who don't have these problems, they know someone who does. And it's really, really important to understand these things, because these people exist, and so to be able to reach kids who are in that situation is wonderful for me, but to also reach the kids who aren't in that situation so they can help people who are is equally important. My latest project is Everybody Sees the Ants. It's about Lucky Linderman, who is a bullied boy who has been relentlessly bullied really since he's about 7 years old. And he copes with this by mysteriously visiting his grandfather, who is still missing in Vietnam. For me, it was an exploration of bullying and of torture and of sort of how the two meet. It was also a great way to talk a little bit about the draft lotteries and prisoners of war and things like that, which a lot of people of this generation might not be aware of still.